Here we're going to graph the conic section of parabolas. The parabola equations can look like either of these two forms. Y minus y sub 0 equals 4 times c parentheses x minus x sub 0 squared, and x minus x sub 0 equals 4 times c times y minus y sub 0 squared. When we have our parabola graphs, they are going to include 4 different things: the focus point, the vertex, the directrix, and of course, the parabola itself. The parabola can have 4 different types of orientation. It will either be vertical, opening up or down, and that will be dependent on if the x terms are squared. It will open up if c is greater than 0. It will open down if c is less than 0. Or we have a horizontal orientation, and that'll occur when the y terms are squared. It'll open to the right when the c term is greater than 0, or it'll open to the left when the c term is less than 0. We're going to graph x plus 1 squared equals negative 2 times y minus 1. The first thing you need to do is determine your orientation. Since the x term is squared, it's going to be a vertical orientation. And since this term in front of the y is negative, it's going to open down. Next, we need to determine our c value. 4 times c is going to equal whatever value is in front of the y minus 1. So c is going to equal 2. Solve for c. c equals negative 1/2. Now we have enough information from our equation to determine the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. The vertex is going to be negative 1, comma, positive 1. The focus is going to be, since we have a point of negative 1, positive 1, our focus is going to drop down the c value. So the x value is going to stay the same, and the c value, we're going to take away this 1/2 from the y value in the vertex, so we're going to end up with 1/2. And then the directrix is going to be the opposite direction from the vertex, so that's going to be a horizontal line at 1.5. So I just added that 1/2 to this value again. Next, we're going to need a table of values. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to isolate y in your equation. So I'm going to divide by 2, the negative 2. And then I'm going to add 1, and that's going to give me an equation where we solve for y. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table of values. The vertex is going to go into the middle of my table. And then I'm going to plug in x values that are above and below my vertex. So when I plug in negative 3 into this equation, I'll get negative 3 plus 1 squared over 2. That's going to be negative 2 squared is positive 4, divided by negative 2 is negative 2, plus 1 is going to give me a value of negative 1. And then when I plug in negative 2, I'm going to end up with 1/2. When I plug in 0, I'm going to end up with 1/2 as well. And when I plug in positive 1, I'm going to end up with -1 again. So now we have enough information to create a graph. The first thing that's going to go on our graph is the vertex, -1, 1. Label your coordinate points. The focus is going to come next, and that's going to be -1, 1/2. Plot the other points from the table. Connect the parabola. And then finally, we are going to put the directrix onto our graph, and that's going to be a horizontal line at y equals 1/2. Now we're going to create a graph of a parabola with the information of just the vertex and the focus. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rough sketch of the information that I'm given. So I have my vertex here at 2, 1, and then my focus over at 4, 1. And this tells us quite a bit of information. The first thing it tells us is the C value. The C value is the distance between the vertex and the focus. In this situation, it's going to be 2. And also, it's going to tell us the way in which our parabola opens. This is going to have a horizontal orientation that opens to the right. So then that's going to tell us that we need to use the equation x minus x naught equals 4 times c y minus y naught squared. And then if we plug in our information here, we have x minus 2 from the vertex equals 4 times c, 8, y minus 1 from the vertex. So here we already have all the information that we need for our equation. The only thing that's left to determine is the table of values. This time, I'm going to solve for x by moving the 2 over. It's so much easier if you try to solve for the variable that's not squared. And then the values that are going to go into my table, I'm going to start with 2, 1 for my x and y. And then this time I'm going to plug in values for y. So then when I plug in positive 2, I get 8 times 1 squared plus 2 equals 10. When I plug in positive 3, I'm going to get 3 minus 1 squared. That's going to be 4 times 8 plus 2 is 34. When I plug in 0, I'm going to get 10 again. And when I plug in -1, I'm going to get 34. So again, this time I decided to start with the y values because it was just so much easier to plug in. So the choice is up to you which one you want to do, and I highly suggest that you solve for whatever variable is not squared. All that's left to do is to plot the points. 2, 1, 4, 1. Directrix is going to be at x equals 0. The reason why it's at x equals 0 is we count backwards the C value from our vertex, and then a couple more points, and we're done. Don't forget to label your critical points. So the vertex is 2, 1. The focus is 4, 1. And I already labeled my directrix. So there's a complete graph of the parabola when we were given the vertex and the focus.